Hey everybody, it's Dr. Tom. Welcome to Full Cup Life. Today, I wanted to bring on a really special guest, Jen Warner, and she's a friend and colleague and someone who, a lot of times when you get on the podcast thing, we're always trying to find like the biggest, baddest ass guest to have, who's got the biggest list or sounds the coolest, wrote the most books. But then when I get done listening to that, I'm like, that's really inspirational. But I mean, we already know those people are doing great. How do we apply this in our own lives? And Jen's a great person, but also when we had this conversation that really inspired us to talk tonight, was that she's applying the principles that we talk about in a really straightforward, simple way and having exceptional results, equal to anybody I've heard of in applying this. So Jen, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is great. So we were talking the other night, and because I do the Mindset Mondays and really just try to share little tips that we could apply. And one of the things that people say a lot is that it can't be that easy. It can't be that simple. But it sounds like you had a different experience.
Well, I think it was actually the very first email that you sent out was the one that actually slapped me across the face the hardest. It was fairly early on when I started reading them. And I remember thinking to myself, and I think I may have even said it to you at one point, wow, I think that email you wrote exactly for me. Because I read it to my husband and I read it to my son, and both of them were like, okay. But it resonated so loud and clear to me. And I thought, okay. And honestly, I don't even remember what email it was, but I just remember thinking, yeah, okay, time to move forward with this. So, and it was just very simple. It was just, it resonated really loud and clear.
So do you remember a little bit of what it inspired in you? Because I know the first one, I just pulled them up, time for a big change.
And yeah, that sounds right. Well, I mean, I've been stuck in kind of a rut for a really long time in a lot of different ways. And I've always felt like in so many different areas of my life, I'm just like swimming in the same circle. And it was like this slap was like, you're not going to get out of this circle unless you go do something different than what you're doing. But I needed someone else that wasn't swimming in the same circle as me to say that to me. And I think that's what happened. But I don't think there was any one particular sentence or anything specific that you said. It was just very I already knew this. Why am I not doing this in my life? It was just said in a different way with different verbiage than I think it may be, or other people have said, or I've read in books or whatever. It was just the right timing for me. And I don't know, it just very easily moved forward.
That's awesome. I mean, for me, one of the things that really always jumped out was exactly that feeling of I know this.
Yeah.
Right. I already know this shit, but why am I not doing it?
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
And then somebody else shares.
Right. Well, and I think when you talk, the way you talk is kind of how I think in my own head. Normally.
I'm so sorry.
No, maybe it was, but it's the truth. And now I'm always like, that's crazy. Okay, so maybe it is crazy. But then hearing someone else say what I already think and know, I don't know. There was nothing super exceptional or groundbreaking about it. It was just hearing it from someone else at the right time, in the right space, the right mindset, maybe. Maybe I was in the space where I needed to hear it. I just remember reading that email and being like, okay, I was reading it to people. It was that profound to me that I was going around with my phone reading it to people.
That's awesome. It's interesting too, because it's when we do this work, I want to help everybody, right? I know that so many people who are listening to this are they want to help their family, their spouse, their kids, their friends. They want to change the world. We're getting sick of COVID. We're getting sick of all this other stuff in the world. We just want more love and all this other stuff. But we run around, like you're saying, we tell everybody, but the thing that inspires us personally may not be their thing. And it's just really cool that like but you still share it and you share your passion. But that's the part I think that you catch them with your passion, you catch them at the right time for them. And it can make a big difference. So, you know, I mean, I know what I talk about a lot because I think it's the same thing. It is nothing like in one sense, it's nothing special. The other sense is it's so super simple, yet underlying both of not that special and super simple is the fact that it's based on universal law. And if you follow it and you put it into action, and like you said, you do it for yourself, it'll work. So what did you do with this newfound inspiration?
Well, actually, the very first thing was I talked to you about it because I was so frustrated that my son and my husband were not hearing me. Like I wanted to shake them. And because I was so excited, and you said to me, and I won't ever forget this, you said, "Why do you need them? You can go out and do this for you. And the more you go out and do for you, they're going to see what you're doing. They're going to see the positive changes. They're going to see your positive attitude and whatever things in life are happening to you. And then they're going to get on board." And that did eventually happen. I stopped focusing on the family as a whole. And I said, you know what? I've been doing for people for so long. What about me? What do I want? So I stopped looking at what we need as a family and what we want as a parent and whatever. And what do I want for myself? So I started reading your things more, and I just kind of took it like 1 week at a time reading them, because I was like I told you the other day, I didn't want to take everything in my life that I could have applied it to and be overwhelmed with like if it worked.
Yeah.
And be like slapped in the face with too much stuff. So I picked one avenue of my life that was solely mine. And that was my business, my Etsy business. And I didn't really do anything in particular except for just focus on, like what you said, what do you want as your end goal? Not what do you want today? Not what do you want at the end of the week? What do you want your paycheck to be at the end of the week? What do you really want to see your business do? And I kind of doodled and whatever, and I have it on the wall actually right behind me. And so it's right in front of me while I'm working. And I normally I'm in a headspace where I'm like, that will never happen. That would never happen to me. Because I didn't realize when I was looking at that stuff that I was in negative headspace all the time. And looking at that from a different perspective, it changed everything. And I didn't do anything. Like I literally looked at it as, yep, that could be mine someday. And I'm going to do whatever I have to do as the steps come to me to get to that goal. And then my business blew up like out of nowhere. Just I didn't do anything. I just
right. So I'm gonna pause you for 1 second because I want to hear about the blowing up, because that's the part that we're all looking for. We all want to be there. But one of the things, I mean, I think there's a couple things is it's so important where we focus on ourselves and ourselves first, and getting out of that mindset of that's selfish.
Exactly.
Because I know for a fact that you're a great mom and a great wife, but I know that you're an even greater mother and a greater wife when you focus on you and the same love that you give to your family that you give to yourself first. So you can actually show up 100 billion% for them when it's that time. And I find that I grew up in a place where that wasn't the way it was, right? It was like we give to everybody else, and if there's anything left over, oh, poor martyr Tom, you'll get that. But that doesn't allow us to show up at our best. And it's like the energy you had the other day when we talked, I was like, what the hell happened? And the other, which is great. The other part of what I think is so brilliant is it was like, you're like, I don't even know if this stuff is real. It's going to do it, but wherever my head is, I'm going to change it. So I just put it on the wall so that whenever I had a moment where I was bored and I could think about it, I didn't know, I did not leave what I was thinking about to chance. I put it in front of me so I always saw what that dream was.
Yeah. And if I wavered on it, I could remember that moment when I wrote all that doodly crap down. Like it doesn't even look like those scribbles, like a little kid drawing on the wall. I remember even the moment when I wrote it too. Is all I think is equally as important, because sometimes just seeing that visual might not be enough, but it's a trigger of remembering where your headspace was when you wrote that stuff down. Or
what does that feel like though when you look at it, like even now when you look at it, like, and you get into that head, what's it feel like?
uh well, there sometimes I'm like, what are you doing? Like the normal, like your normal reaction to something that large. And then but then that goes away really quickly, and then I'm like, I get really inspired. Like I have materials like all over the place, like right here, and I'm like, ooh, what can I? And then I start like fiddling through my things, like what can I do? And I just dream a little. That's all. I mean, it changes my mindset from I didn't realize until those series of emails that I started kind of getting into it that I have been in a very negative headspace for a very long time. And that piece of paper kind of clears the clutter.
Isn't it crazy?
It is crazy. I had no idea how negative my mindset was about everything.
And if you take that, and there's the awareness of that, but the super crazy part to me is that all you need to do to switch it is to write what you want on the wall.
Yeah. Right. Like, but you have to be, I think it's not just what you want. You have to, like, because you can say, I want like a happy family. I want, of course, we want all the, that stuff. I'm going to be comfortable with my life finances. No, it's like dream, like dig deep and dream. What do you want? Like, do you want to retire on no, not that kind of stuff, retire on the beach. Like, what do you want for you to make you fulfilled? And
Right.
I forgot how to dream for myself. And those little doodles are just kind of a reminder of that for myself.
And, it's so critical, Jen, what you just said is, I think it's like we forget how to dream because we're so busy not dreaming. And it's not like we don't want to dream, and it's not like we can't. A lot of people, oh, I can't dream or whatever. Like, no, it's like a muscle. You have to practice it. So I even have at my place, I went and I got the 3M, little posties. Well, they make like 2x3s that are huge, like 2 foot by 3 foot. And I got these, and it's just like doodle. And then it's like, oh, that's close. And I put that one up, and then I do another one. But it's like there's something about the actual drawing and the writing that we've gotten away from with a lot of the typing that really makes a big difference. And I want everybody who's listening or watching to really catch when Jen starts to talk about what's in her head versus dreaming. There's a complete different energy to her and to her voice, and it's that you get that inspiration, that energy that you're used to from when you were a kid, that really gets you motivated.
Yep.
So what happened here? Because I don't want to keep everybody like waiting, like, because you're like, hey, like I started reading these little mini emails from Moorcroft, and then something blew up. So
well, I guess so. The one driving thing that was kind of like the weight that was holding me. I've always been very crafty, and I'm always been kind of an entrepreneur. That's what I know that about myself. And I've always kind of dabbled in different things, and I still dabble in different things. And even I volunteer in different ways to kind of fulfill those things, but it's never been, I don't know, quite enough. And the last few years I've been volunteering doing some stuff for our town that kind of started to pull up a little bit of this, like something is there, something is cooking, and I can't quite figure out what it was or what it is. But I always had this negative, heavy stuff, and that is the issue of that we have black mold in our house. And I didn't realize how much of our day I consumed talking about it. whether it was a passing comment, or maybe it was a 30-minute conversation about how we're going to fix this, or the finances for that, or whatever. It always existed in the house in some way, shape, or form. I didn't realize I was driving that ship. And my husband actually was like, you know, you're a prime example of that, running through the forest with a plate in front of your face. And so it's really corny, but it is so true. I literally am that one who has a white dinner plate that has the word black mold written across the plate right in front of my face. And I cannot see the forest in front of me. And I'm running, and I'm stumbling and I'm falling and I'm getting up and swearing and I'm pissed off and I'm scratched to hell because I have a stupid plate and I can't see anything. And it wasn't until all of your emails that I realized, you've got to put the plate down, woman. You don't have to let go of it because you know you have to take care of it, but you got to put it down. And then all of these opportunities started to like just come at me in like the most, I can't even explain it, like extraordinary kind of way. Like my business went from, and I actually looked at the stats today, so I could even blow your mind even more. I went from having, I can't remember, I had an 885% increase in sales in this quarter versus last quarter.
Wow.
Right? Like I looked up in numbers just so I could see it in like black and white. Like I've been mailing 350 packages out a week for the last 3 weeks, but since October, it's really like, and that was when it all started, when I started to kind of like stop talking about the mold and stop focusing on that and stop projecting it out onto my family and myself and whatever. And I started to dream more in my business. I started to remember why I love doing what I do. I remember, I rebranded my entire business to incorporate magic and sunshine in everything that I do because I want to spread that everywhere I go. But it was also coming back in this direction as I was doing it. I would get emails from customers and the reviews I read from my customers are just, I can tell what I'm putting out is coming back to me. And it is simply because I dropped that plate away and got to see all these amazing opportunities. And I'm not doing anything differently as a business owner. I'm just more, I don't know, I don't want to say childlike, but in that dreaming sense, that's how I talk to people. And they talk that way back to me. And it's just referrals and whatever.
I think there's a lot of you inspire, like so many people I meet are craving to be told it's okay to be that child.
Yeah.
To just dream like you used to. And it's like, everybody's like, oh, like if I could only go back to when I was 18 and know what I know today. Well, you can, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can literally be childlike and go and enjoy it. And I think because I got mesmerized for a moment while you're talking, I'm like, man, I wish I could be that eloquent about it, because you're basically like, I did nothing different, except to me, it feels like you showed up.
Yeah.
Like you actually showed up as Jen, not as somebody who's putting up a facade to be a business owner, or not somebody who's struggling in life. Like you just showed up and you shared your passion. Yep. So you're always doing the thing you wanted to do, but you weren't really fully there. And it's like your kids know when you're not paying attention. Your spouse knows when you're distracted. At least mine does.
Totally. 100%. Yes, totally.
Yeah, then you show up for
accurate. That's definitely accurate.
And so I think it's a huge shift, Jen, when you show up and you're just like, look, I'm just going to be me, but I'm really going to be me. I'm not like just showing up like to show up and get a job or a paycheck, but I'm here because this is what I love to do. And then you inspire others because you talk to them from that place of passion.
Yep. And I think it further kind of pushed everything along as I saw the responses coming back to me, how I was putting myself out there were coming back the same, which further, like I was doing longer hours, more stuff, making more products, staying up at ungodly hours, making sure people get their stuff early, because I wanted to bring joy to their mailbox in this horrifying, awful year that this is. I have glitter and stickers and confetti in my packages, and I'm doing that crap at like 1:30 in the morning because I want them to get their mail and be happy for that one moment. And it just, I don't know, it just kind of pushed everything in a direction I did not see coming a mile away.
Well, and the other part too is I'm just thinking, like, I'm always like, part of my mission in life is obviously to enjoy myself. Well, maybe not obvious, but I want to enjoy myself and do the things I love. But I also want to inspire other people. It's a huge part. I want people to live their passion. That's kind of what Full Cup Life is all about. I mean, I'm so sick and tired of the glass is half full or half empty. It's not. It should overflow. There's tons of abundance. And you proved it. But what's the beauty of what you're telling me is you went out and did something for you that allowed you to have a bigger impact on other people than you previously were when you were being selfish.
Yep.
I mean, if you just want to cut it to the heart of the matter, we were not getting all of Jen.
That's right.
I wanted more of Jen in the world. When I got more of Jen, everybody's like, we want more. We feel good. And you're inspiring us to go do this to somebody else and pay it forward.
Yep.
Because I know that joy that they got out of opening that box with all the extra.
Yeah.
It's going to go way beyond just that day when they open it.
I know. Yep. And that's, I mean, there was one, actually a really small story where I had a woman email me and say, oh, I forgot to change my shipping address. We just moved. Did you already mail my package? And I already had. And so instead of being the normal business owner, you're SOL, I mailed it to her. And I said, if for some reason this gets forwarded to you, pay it forward to somebody who needs it. And she actually ended up getting it. And she actually gifted it to somebody on her floor at the hospital she works at, and proceeded to then put in an order for the entire pediatric unit in their hospital because of that one. Like, I was like, what? Yeah.
Think about the simple thing. I mean, I know that costs you a little bit of extra money.
$10.
How much?
It cost me $10.
And what did you get? And $10 that you didn't stress about, like you put the plate down. Oh, it's $10. I'll put it down and do the right thing that feels right to me. And then you put it out there, and now the whole pediatric unit's got what they need, extra love.
It was a $285 order.
So I don't know how many people at the moment listening have a business, but let me tell you, if I could increase in one quarter by 885%, I might be retired right now.
It's crazy, right? Like, I was like, it's such a small little story, but it's really not. Like, I will never forget that woman and that one little oops ever, because it was like, what I'm doing it works. It's the right thing to do. It's what I'm supposed to be doing. It feels right. It feels good. Other people feel good,
Well, I wonder in this time, how many people think that their lives are insignificant or can't impact other people, or, oh, I wish I could do more, but I really can't. It's like so many of us can make. One of the things I always try to tell people is, especially like if we're parents with kids, even our teens who are basically giving us the bird and who are not paying attention, they are listening to what you do and watching what you do, even when they tell you they're not. They are in the other room. What's up? And, it's interesting. The influence that each and every one of us has on the people around us is usually much greater than we give ourselves credit for. We tend to look at other people and overemphasize their importance and their impact. And we look at ourselves and we downplay our impact. And it's really interesting because look at what you did. And I've worked on the pediatric units in the hospital. I mean, I've been in medicine since 1995. I've worked in the hospital since, one way or another, starting around the year 2000. So I should 1997. But the point is, every single time that I went there, whether I went there for my job or I went there with my dog volunteering for therapy work, especially with the kids, if you do something nice for one person, everybody hears about it, everybody feels it, everybody's inspired. So, I mean, Jen, kudos. That's crazy.
It was really amazing feeling. Like, yeah, there isn't really anywhere. I was floored. Like, the emails that I got, after the order came in, I stared at it because I didn't know who this person was. And then I got the email from the original person. And then I got the email from the person who ordered. And I was like, I actually sat here, and this is where I do all my work. I actually sat here, Greg, because I was like, I don't know where to put these emotions right now because of one little $10 thing, spread a little Christmas cheer all around. And it was more than just spreading Christmas cheer. It was uplifting a whole bunch of people who probably really, really, really needed it in that moment.
Right. And that's what you did with $10 and a little bit of love.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear the next story.
Oh, the next story? Oh, the ones with the...
No. I mean, the next time that you have the opportunity to do something, like, think about it. Like, you're all like, I'll just do this $10. Right. And you made that much of a difference, right? So now, I mean, and it's like, what's really cool is you can see I'm watching you think, and I'm like thinking like, man, it's really interesting because you're like, how can I do this next time better? What is the thing that I can do to change somebody else's life?
You're totally right. I'm like, what can I do now? Like, how can I make this part of my business? Like, I'm already like working in my head.
So your business shot up by 885% in order.
Yeah.
You donated essentially $10 to the universe, and you created this, and now you're looking at a way to modify your business model. And what I know from all the online marketing and the other stuff, the things that take off the most are the socially conscious causes. So I know that, and I'm going to just stop myself right there. This all started because you were like, I'm going to get myself out of a negative headspace just because of some random email. And you took action. And as soon as you took action, everything for you changed, and then you changed everybody else.
Yep. And it actually happened in my house too, with my boys.
So do tell.
So all of the emails, I always either forward to them or I read to them, or I'll read little snippets here and there when it feels applicable, but I still get the same, whatever, teenage boy or husband, I'm busy doing work, whatever. So we have this grand goal to, fix the mold here and move. We want to start over. We want a fresh start, whatever. But I can never talk to my husband about it. He's like, he is my brick wall. Like, I cannot crack the wall no matter what. But I've been doing all this stuff, and he's been watching, and he's been seeing, and he helps because now I've gotten to the point where I need more hands, and he's seeing firsthand what I've been doing. And so this year for Thanksgiving, we decided the three of us would just stay home. And my son Josh has gotten really into cooking because he's been taking foods classes at school. So they decided they wanted to take over and do Thanksgiving this year. And I'm like, all right, all the hands off. And then my husband's in the kitchen with Josh, and he's seeing how skilled he is. And he said, I'm hands off. Josh has got the wheel, and he's 16. So he did an amazing job, and we sat down and we did our normal traditions that we normally do every year for Thanksgiving. And I thought to myself, all right, I'm going to do this right now. And I put my glass on the table like I was going to do a toast. And I said, okay, I want him to do a little mini toast. I want to say cheers to having Thanksgiving in our new house next year. And I sucked my breath in. And my husband was the first person to put his glass in the center of the table. And he said, I will drink to that. My brick wall freaking cracked.
Wow.
So now we are looking at houses online, which he would not do before. Josh is dreaming about what his new room will look like. It's slowly.
So wait a second. You didn't force anybody to change. You
Nope.
led by example, and then they were happy to come with you.
Yeah.
Love it.
Ah, wait, what? It was crazy. Like, I was so nervous sitting there at the table with my glass. I was like, okay, what's going to happen with this? And again, my brain exploded at the table.
I love it. So the other day when we were chatting to you, you had mentioned something about the way, that not only I actually more than half of these things you're telling me, I didn't even know. It's great because it's just like all brand new, and it's just like it just keeps. I was like,
we had other things to talk about.
I know, but it was like I'm like thinking like, oh my God, we really need to talk with to the podcast because it's like so important for people to understand that you just need to make a small step forward in a slightly uncomfortable but kind of interesting, dreamy way, and it'll start to happen, and you just need to be aware of it and go with it, and you'll influence those around you to change too. But and so it's so neat to learn how. One of the things that was really interesting to me when I started really understanding how this stuff worked was how quickly it happens and how much happens.
Yes. That was a little bit overwhelming. I mean, there were other things. I mean, we were talking about it. Like, I had money that wasn't supposed to show up start showing up. Like, what? Like, just, I don't know. It's hard
The
to
cool part
explain.
is as we dive in deeper and deeper, we'll catch ourselves saying things like, I had money that was supposed to show up. Be like, well, I manifested money into my life, and then I was able to pay that forward by influencing others. And then from being surprised, oh my goodness, this showed up, then you start to live in the expectation of it coming, and then more comes, which allows you to do more for other people.
Right. Yep.
So good.
Yep. It is good. It is good.
One of the things that you had mentioned to me was about like the way, I mean, you've talked a lot about how you thought changed, like you put the mold plate down, but how, there was, and I don't remember exactly what it was. I know it's very inspiring about like just the way you thought about health from this. Do you remember what you're talking about?
Oh, that was, it's always, actually everything. It's not just the mold, but just everything about health in general is always like the first thing that we're always talking about. So it's like this big elephant in the room. But it doesn't have to be. I mean, it's always going to be there, but I think we focus too much on, it's easy to focus on the things that are negative or problematic or like the pain points in your life because human nature. I mean, whatever the reason is, I just am, if I have been pushing against walls to move past all of this stuff, that I realized I can't move a wall myself. So I need to stop thinking about this stuff and having it be the prominent feature in my life. And I need to have myself be the prominent feature in my life. And then hopefully, at the time when I was thinking it, hopefully everything will follow suit. Just like you said, when you take care of yourself first, then you're able to better take care of everybody else around you. And, even since we talked 2 days ago, I've already gotten back on track of the things that I fell kind of to the wayside because I got so overwhelmed with all this new stuff. And I'm already seeing better changes in small things. And I keep thinking to myself, well, hey, now I can do even more in my business or with whatever, because I'm taking care of myself in a very simple way, drinking more water, going out in the sun, whatever.
It's so interesting that it's all this simple stuff. And it's like, all you said was kind of like, I just decided it was okay that I put myself first and I dream a little bit. And it wasn't complicated.
Yeah.
And now I know a lot of people who I mean, with the work I do and everything, there's so many people who are suffering, and they obviously, if you have a chronic medical illness, you need to focus on it. But when I think about the plate, that the analogy you use of putting the plate of mold and that issue down, I mean, did you like completely forget about it, or just like not? I mean,
No, I didn't. I mean, it's sort of like I was actually really thinking hard about that analogy because it resonated so strong with me, and I thought, how can I take this analogy for myself? Like when I'm in these moments thinking about the stuff, and like, so the plate, I'm still holding the plate, I'm not letting go. It's just not in my vision. Maybe it's in my peripheral vision. I'm holding it, so I'm touching it, I'm feeling it. I know it's still there, so I know I have to take care of it. But man, I can't wait until I can drop that plate and watch it shatter.
right? Well, the cool part is you got a table that you can put it on.
Yeah, that too.
You know, right. And that's kind of like, as you described it, I just envisioned you putting it on the table and knowing that it was safe on the table of your awareness, that you knew that it was there. You knew you could take care of it, but it didn't. But that's the cool part, is your brain is not going to forget about the important pieces.
Right.
And I think that really your story, the whole thing is like the whole time that you were doing all this for other people, you didn't, what I hear, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the more you focused on you, the more you changed other people's lives, including your families. You motivated them to actually improve all of your health, probably by letting Josh cook, but also it was like you got more energy to focus on you.
Yeah.
By putting down the bad shit, it didn't take away from you being able to focus on it. You actually brought new energy, new ideas, and a better focus to it when it was the right time. I mean, Is that an accurate?
That's accurate. That's totally 100%.
I don't know where my microphone is, but Jen, you're killing it.
It's crazy. It's seriously crazy to just simply move the thought somewhere else. Don't throw it away. Don't push it way down where it will make you miserable in your subconscious. Just move it. That's it. So simple.
I totally understand why people buy stuff from you and why you were able to like do the whole hospital pediatric unit thing. It's just like it's just like you're so inspiring because you take that little simple thing and you just that's when I talked with you the other day, I was like, I almost feel like even I do this, like we try to make it too complicated. It's almost like we need to teach you something complicated.
Right.
But it's not complicated.
No. And I can see so many other areas in my life now that I'm willing to like branch out into more than just that one path or the other path, where I can be like, man, I so overcomplicate everything down that road, or even something that's done and in the past that I've done. Man, I wish I had done that a little bit differently because I so overcomplicated that too, and it took 10 times longer than it needed to be done or whatever. Yeah, I live simply. And I've been saying that to my family all year. Like we're like purging our house and trying to like get rid of junk and whatever. And every time we start these projects, I always say, they're like, why are we doing this? Like, we want to live simply. And then I look back at those conversations now with all of these things that are happening, and I'm like, I'm doing that, living simply, and I'm embracing and being able to see all the benefits and the fruits of the things by living simply and having an uncluttered mind and having a clearer vision, or maybe not a vision at all, but it's just clear. And you're able to kind of just see, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to put into words sometimes because it's overwhelming and kind of sometimes a little unbelievable.
Right? Well, I love a thing you bring up too. There's two things that I really just pull out of that. One is we all need white space. Like we all feel like every little moment we need to refill. But if we give us a little space for that creativity, we can allow new opportunities to come into our lives, whether it's new emotions, new energy, new business, whatever it be.
Right.
But the other part is you said something really poignant for me is throughout the year, you've been saying, live simply, live simply, live simply. And it sounds like along the way, you became more and more and more. The repetition, it sank in and you began using it.
And then you sent your email and it went,
right. So it's interesting. Like, so many people are like, oh, coincidence, whatever. Like the reason that the email made so much sense to you was it was written great. No, I mean,
it was though.
Totally kidding. But it was like, you brought that message into your life at the right time for you to read it.
Right.
Right. I mean, there's so many little weird things. Like when I was sick, a friend of mine, her son had this crazy seizure disorder, and she bought him this power yoga DVD, which the kid could barely stand up. And she was like, I don't know what I was thinking. Here, you try it. And I went to this, and there's something not right, but I looked at the end and I said, oh, I already learned it. Ashtanga yoga. That's what I need to learn. And so I just saw this weird opportunity, and I started following this yoga, and it was horribly painful because I was so messed up at the time. Yeah. But I just did it because I was like, why did this come into my life? I've been saying something in my head. I need to treat my body different. All right, here's a sign. And I did it. And then like within 6 months, I felt so much better. And then I changed my diet and yada, yada, yada. But you took the opportunity, so not only did you create the opportunity in your life for simplicity, but then when the next step came in, you were open to doing it. And this is what I tell people with Lyme and all these other things too, is when you start to put the plate on the table and let the table hold it rather than your heart and your mind, because it's there when you need to work on it, you then open yourself up to new opportunities, and you will know, because your mind is clear, you have a better chance of choosing the right opportunity to follow. Because I'm sure you get a bunch of emails, not just mine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? But one stood out, and that was, you had the space to do it. And now look what you did with it. So you created that opportunity for yourself. At least that's what I believe. Yeah.
I mean, I think it was a series of a lot of things over time. That one particular, purging and trying to be a little bit more simple with our living and uncluttered house, uncluttered mind, all that kind of stuff. But I think there was a lot of things, if I look back over the last year or so, in addition to that kind of supported that living simply thing that I just thought were great things that were going on in my life. But looking back, I see them as there were supporting roles in making sure I stayed on track living simply, because how easy it is to, fall into old habits. It's very easy.
And it's so interesting to me too, because I notice stuff like this, and I notice it in me. I even notice it in the way I ask questions or answer questions. But like when we start to talk a moment ago just about how all these little things are things you brought into your life for your own benefit, your kind of energy goes, I'm not so sure I buy that shit just yet.
I felt it too.
Did you? Right?
Yes, I did. I'm like, no, I didn't.
But the good news is now we have that awareness of it, and you can bring that. It's so good. And this is, to me, the part that inspired me the most about our conversation the other day, and why I wanted to bring it here, was that you are speaking like the truth, the way everybody experiences it. It's like when somebody's like, oh, like, I had a car accident and then I changed my whole life and everything's been great ever since, and all I do is help other people. Like, you're like, okay, I feel bad about your car accident, but that it's not all just like the roses. I mean, I think the real deal about this is you're like, hey, I'm going through this, I'm living it, and it's great, and I'm still a normal person.
Yep.
Yep. And next time we talk to you, you'll have a 2,000% increase in a quarter or something.
I hope so.
It's so good. So, Jen, are there any kind of closing things that you want to make sure people who are maybe thinking about making changes or stuck somewhere should really take home from your experience?
Stuck. Well, I will say that it's the first thing that pops into my mind. It's actually it's not going to be perfect the whole ride. You're gonna like get discouraged. You're going to go, this was crap. This doesn't work. Um, but you started doing it for a reason in the first place. You have bumps and setbacks for a reason. They only just make you grow stronger. So ride the bumps. They're part of the wave and keep going. Just keep going because eventually the bumps smooth out. I mean, that's just life in general, but I think when you're willing and open to accepting like kind of a more positive change and a more positive attitude, sometimes heavy stuff is going to happen and it might veer you off track. So have your little doodle on the wall to veer your back on track or whatever it is. And don't forget why you started in the first place, because you started in the first place for a reason. You were put there for a reason to start then for a reason. So power through.
So good. Thank you so much. Hey, so where can people check out your super rad Etsy store? And let me tell you, everybody, you got to check this out because I did it the other day and I was like, I didn't know Etsy stores could have like all these cool logos and like all this cool stuff. So definitely check it out. But where can we find you?
Everywhere. I'm everywhere. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and on Etsy. It's Emily and Bean Boutique on Etsy, on Facebook, and on Instagram. All one word.
Awesome. So what I'll do is I'll make sure I grab all those and I'll link them in the show notes and the description and all that good stuff for everybody. It's super cool stuff. And again, if you want to order to the wrong address and send something to someone else and yourself, Jen is here to help you out doing that and spreading the love.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Jen. Thanks for sharing from your heart and being such an inspiration to all of us.